All right, welcome to another video on quadratic equation. Now, this video is basically on vertex form. I will be explaining the vertex form and also tell you the how to find out the maximum and minimum points with the help of the vertex form basically. Now, if you don't understand what is minimum and maximum in quadratics, you will definitely keep losing your marks. But in this video, I will try to fix that in 5 to 10 minutes. Let me share my whiteboard quickly for that reason. Let's go over here and understand about the vertex form as I just mentioned guys to you. So when you talk about the vertex form, we in the last completing the square method, we actually covered a bit about that also. Let me just write down that we are trying to cover up today vertex form. So this is vertex form and how to find out minimum and maximum values again. So let's say we already have the quadratic equation usually look like ax square plus bx plus c, right, is equals to 0. This is an equation, right? But there is another powerful form which we have studied in the last session, which is called vertex form, which we usually write down that as basically y is equals to a. This is x minus h whole square plus k. This is actually called the vertex form. This is how we write down the vertex form. In the last session, completing the square form, we were basically trying to do understand that only. Now, how with the help of like how we basically find out the maximum and minimum points and how what is h and k here. First of all, let's talk about h value here. So if I talk about h value, guys, h value is basically nothing but the x coordinate here. Okay, this is the x coordinate here, and if I talk about the k here, it's basically the y coordinate here. So now you know what is my x coordinate and what is my y coordinate. So vertex becomes what? Vertex is basically nothing but h comma k. Through graph also I'll try to clear that out with you. Let's say for example, if you talk about vertex of a parabola, right? The topic is what is vertex of a parabola? Let's say vertex of a parabola. Now, to understand that, let's say we have a graph over here specifically. Let's say this is my graph here. Okay. And in this graph, if I have a point like here specifically, moving from here to here, okay, this is my point, right? Now, this basically, this part here that you see over here, this point here specifically, this is your, when you name it, you will name it as a vertex. And again, because it is going down, it is basically the minimum value. I repeat, this is basically vertex, and obviously it is the maximum value. I'm sorry, I just said the opposite of it. When it is going down, maximum value it is then. Okay, that is the maximum value here, and this is called axis of symmetry. This is called usually the axis of symmetry. Okay, now if I'll draw another graph for you again just to make you understand better. Let's say this is another graph, and if this parabola going like is like this, and this is the point here. Let's say I'll just mark this point. This point is basically the vertex of minimum value. Again, this is your minimum value here. So you will write down here vertex, and then you will write down this is as minimum value. I repeat. Okay. Now this is again axis of symmetry here. Axis of symmetry here. That's pretty simple, right, guys? To understand that what is basically the values here, what is axis of symmetry here through the vertex of the parabola, we actually got that idea now. Now, there are one more thing that you guys need to understand. What are the x-intercept and the y-intercept basically? So when you draw a proper graph, when you draw a proper graph, let's say, this is your graph, like, right? And in this graph, you have some values. Let's say this is 0, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here also. And here also you are drawing some numbers basically as you have seen in the graph usually. And if some graph passes by from here like this, okay, and let's say this part is, here is another line going from like top to bottom here, then that this part which you see over here, all right, this one, this is basically your vertex. Okay, now wherever it is touching the y intercept here, this is basically your y intercept where x is 0. This is called y-intercept. Here, if you see the value of x is here, it's 0, right? If you talk about the x-intercept here, which is basically here and here, these are the 2 points for x basically. These are 2 points which are basically as x-intercept. This is also x-intercept, okay? And this one is also x-intercept. So both are x-intercept because the value of y here is 0. Again, this is basically, this line is axis of symmetry, OS in short. In short, axis of symmetry, we call axis of symmetry AOS in short. Now, this is called again parabola, guys. This vertex, usually the vertex is actually the turning point. Listen to my words. The vertex is actually the turning points where the graph basically start turning. That point is basically the vertex, either the highest or the lowest point that you can see. Now, the concept that you need to remember here is that if your A from the equation which I have just written here at the top, right, this equation y is equals to a x minus h whole square plus k. So in this, if your A is positive, right, if your A is positive, let's say if it is positive here, then in that case you will say that obviously your parabola will open up. Basically the parabola will look like this, open up u-shaped like structure, means this is your parabola look like, and it will open up, and it shows you the minimum point on the graph, which is basically this point. Minimum point is this point here. Similarly, if your A is negative in case, then obviously the parabola will go downwards like this. Basically this would be your parabola like this, and it will show you the maximum point somewhere here. Will show you the maximum point. So this is one thing you need to remember: maximum point and minimum point, how to figure it out, and why the vertex is one of the like very powerful here kind of thing, because obviously instead of giving like finding out long equations and solving long equations, vertex form give you the answers very fast, very instantly. Let's do some questions also to understand that quickly, guys. Let's say we have another question over here, which is maybe y is equals to x minus 2 whole square plus 3. This is the equation. Solve this. Now you compare it with the vertex form. What is the vertex form? Y is equals to x minus h whole square plus 3. That is the vertex form you have, right? Now in this, if you see, what is your h is your 2, what is your k is your 3, then what is the vertex? Vertex you will say is nothing but 2 comma 3. That is your vertex. That's how you can find out the vertex. Now, yeah, and since like A is positive, if you see in the equation, this will give you the minimum point. I again say that if A is positive, because on the place of A there is nothing, so there is one written there. If there is nothing written, then there is one, and one is again positive one, so it will give you the, as I mentioned to you here for this equation, A is equals to 1, guys. If A is equals to 1, that means it is positive, which will give you the minimum point. Again, I repeat, because A is positive. So this is basically, you can write down here, this is a minimum point, or this will give you the minimum point from the parabolic graph. So answer is vertex is 2 comma 3, and minimum value would be, you will get the minimum value also. It would be whatever the value would be. It basically is 3 in this case. Minimum value you got, and you also got the vertex. Minimum value is 3. Now question, let's say I'll take another question just to help you out to understand maybe better. Let's say we have y is equals to minus of x plus 1 whole square plus 4. Now in this, if we rewrite this equation as something else, like, because here the h basically, if you see, firstly let's rewrite this equation. How do you rewrite this equation? X plus 1 whole square can be written as or x plus 1 can be written as, because there is a minus sign outside also. So what you can write down this as, you can write down this as x minus minus 1. Okay, this you can write down. So because of that, your h is already negative here. Okay, because again from the equation above which you see here, h, right, I'm just trying to make sure to compare it with this equation, and if I see here, uh, because of the minus sign, and to write down in the proper format, I will get h as minus 1. Then only it will be the, it will be according to the, equation, no, that is basically y is equals to a and all. Like for example, just to tell you, it is y is equals to a x minus h whole square plus k, right? So if you see, if I write down in this format, then it will look like this, and then I can decide my h is minus 1. Okay, my h is easily then minus 1, and my k is obviously plus positive 4, which is according to here, if you can see in the equation. So that's one thing, guys, so don't get confused. Vertex is basically here minus 1 comma 4. Okay, and since a is negative, the graph will opens downwards. Graph will be like this, it will open downwards, and it will give you the maximum point, and maximum point would be what? 4, which is basically this point. This will be the maximum point. So that's how you do these easy questions. Again, there would be questions in which they will directly give you equations like this also. Let's say, for example, y is equals to x square plus 4x plus 4. Okay, that's the equation. Now, sometimes when they sorry, this is, let's say, 5 quadratic equation they have given you. The first step is you need to make it in a vertex form, and for that you can write down this as x square plus 4x bracket plus 5, like we did in the completing the square method. Then solve it a bit with the help of completing the square method, and you will get x plus 2 whole square plus 1. Now this is in vertex form. You can say h is minus 2 and k is 1. And why k is h is minus 2, I told you in the previous question also. That's the logic how I get k as minus 2, sorry, h as minus 2, and k is obviously 1 here. Now the vertex will become what? Vertex will become minus 2 comma 1. That is my vertex, minus 2 comma 1. That's how it is, easy it is. So since a is negative, sorry, positive here, the it will give you the minimum point. It will give you the minimum point. I repeat that. Okay, so just quickly for the graph portion, just to make sure you guys understand better, let's say this is the graph for me. Okay, if I'm drawing, let's say, for uh let's say this is my one graph here. Okay, this is my another graph here which I will be drawing. Let's say it will passes by here, and a bit rough graph it is, but yeah, you can try to manage it. And this is another graph here. Okay, so now these three graphs that you guys see right now here, and I will mark it also. This is, let's say, my y-axis, this is my x-axis. So the blue one basically that you see here, the function is actually graph for x square. The hx, if let's say I'll name with the, so you can name the function with different name. That's why I'm naming it. It is for x plus 1 whole square. And for the other one, maybe the red one, let's say with g of x as x minus 1 whole square. And why that's so, guys? What is the reason behind it? Because let's say if you talk about this blue one, right, it is passing from 0, so it is x square. If you talk about the green one, this is somewhere here, it is basically 1. Okay, this is 2, this is 3, and this is negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So that's why x plus 1 h whole square, because x plus 1 you put up equals to 0, x would be equals to minus 1. That's why, remember that. Then g of x is given to you as x minus 1 whole square. Then this part here, guys, is basically for this portion here, it would be x plus 1 whole square. Because, oh sorry, if you put up x minus 1 is equals to 0, it would be x is equals to plus 1. So you see how the graph look like for each one of them. All right, this is a very important concept. I hope so you have understood that. Again, very common mistake that students do is that student basically doesn't convert for this equation like I did. Sometimes they do mistakes in this, like putting up the value of h as something else when it is not that value, like I did over here, and converted it and then do it. So these are some common mistakes they do. So make sure you don't do this basically. Now you can do this question for practice. Maybe you can do like first question over here. I'm writing in the bottom, and you can practice this. Y is equals to x minus 5 whole square minus 7. Maybe y is equals to minus 2x plus 3 whole square plus 1. You can do this, pause the video and you can figure out the answer. Check it out. What is your vertex? What is your minimum and maximum point? So I hope so you have understand this, whatever just I have just explained here. These are the some concepts which is very important. Stay tuned. In the next video, we will be talking about discriminant and nature of roots, which is another part of quadratic. We'll try to cover up everything in quadratic according to GCSE and IGCSE curriculum. And if you are from Dubai, Canada, US, UK, this would be helpful. And for other reasons, for other students also who are studying for any exams basically, and want to study quadratic. So that's all. Thank you so much.